Hello, fellow freaks, geeks, and normies. Today is Friday, April 12th, and this is Grade the Gaming News. Links to all the topics that I talk about today will be in the description below. And if you're new here, please feel free to like and subscribe. Now, let's get into the news. This one comes from Nintendo Life. The Wii U and 3DS are ending their online services. While this makes sense to a certain extent, it's always unfortunate to hear that we lose a way to gain access to certain video games. Knowing Nintendo's absolutely terrible with preservation, not allowing people to emulate games as freely as they should, this just means that these games are just going to get lost to time. If losing some of these games means something to you, then I would try to find these games, emulate them as soon as you can, because I'm sure that there's going to be a big influx in downloads in the next coming weeks, and who knows if Nintendo's going to go after any of these sites to shut them down. I give this story a big ol' F. This next one also comes from Nintendo Life. Nintendo adds some new icons, backgrounds, and borders for your Nintendo Online profile. Some of the new content comes from your favorite games like Super Mario Wonder, Super Mario 3D World, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Unfortunately, in order to get these things, you have to play these games 3 times within the next 30 days with 24 hours in between each one of those play sessions. Not only that, but you have to collect some platinum points on the way there. If you don't know what platinum points are, then I don't blame you. They are essentially the way to get some extra stuff through the Nintendo Online shop or just through the Nintendo Online services. So the way you can get these are just by doing missions. You can go through your Nintendo account and just kind of start a mission, like play Zelda, unlock this thing, do X, Y, or Z thing in whatever game. Or you can go into a mobile game that they have, like an Animal Crossing one or Mario Run or Fire Emblem, and get a lot of platinum points that way. I assume that you're not doing that, but if you were, an icon costs 10 points, backgrounds and borders cost 5. Regardless, after you get those points, you do have to go into the games that these icons are for, like Super Mario Wonder or 3D World or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and play them, obviously, but play them in 3 different sessions within this month with 24 hours in between each one of those sessions. While it doesn't seem like a lot, that is actually kind of a lot. Personally, I think if you're just going to release something and people have already bought these games or even support Nintendo in general, or they do the missions, I feel like you should just be able to buy these icons or borders or backgrounds as you see fit. You've already done the missions for your Nintendo account, so why not just give us access to buy the icons? Why do I have to play these games? So I give the story another F. Nintendo not doing too hot this week. Moving on to Xbox. This one comes from The Verge. Xbox is testing out Xbox-style dashboards for their cloud gaming services. This should be available in a few months, and they are doing a trial with Xbox insiders. Most features will actually be available to smart TVs and the Quest VR headsets. I'm just going to give you the grade right now. It's an A to me, because any sort of UI improvement from their current cloud system is a very welcome change, especially if it acts much like their Xbox console experience. People who are already invested in the Xbox console experience would have an easier time going into the cloud services, or vice versa. If they want everyone to get into the consoles via cloud services, then their cloud service experience going onto a console might not be so different. It's just going to be the same thing. You can join a party, you can invite people. Any sort of seamless transition between an experience from cloud to console is greatly appreciated. Let's take a look at the Steam Deck. My experience on Steam Deck is very similar to my experience on Steam on PC. That's why it works. So I think this story, again, is a grade A to me. Anything that helps a user get used to something and not have it be completely different when you go on to the same service, just on a different system, it's all good. It's all gravy to me. All right, now we can move on to Sony. I found this next story on Games Radar. Stellar Blade director says that there needs to be more variety in gaming. And I 100% agree. What I think he's more saying is that there needs to be more variety in AAA gaming. I think that the AAA experience is similar to those Oscar bait movies. You kind of know what to expect. You're expecting a pretty big story. You're expecting heartbreak at some point and probably a pretty happy resolution. Obviously, there are definitely games that have not so happy resolution. There's always room for debate for things like that. But I think that That's kind of what they're saying, is that a lot of the AAA games currently are feeling basically the same, and you're experiencing the same thing over and over year after year. We've been lucky in the past couple of years where we got Elden Ring in 2022 and then Baldur's Gate 3, where those games essentially redefined their genre. So yeah, I do believe that, yeah, there does need to be a little bit more chances taken by bigger companies. That's 100% sure. And if you're looking for some of that variety now, then stay tuned, because we're going to go over the Triple I initiative that just happened earlier this week. If I didn't say before, this Stellar Blade director gets a grade A from me. This next one comes from the PlayStation blog. They just added some games to the catalog. They just released a story about it a couple days ago. And they are adding Dave the Diver to their April catalog, as well as a day one release for Tales of Kenzera Zhao, which to me, that game looks freaking awesome. What I've heard is that it plays similar or even better than the Prince of Persia game that just came out earlier this year. So if it's anything like that or even better, then we are in for an awesome ride. I am going to be diving into that soon after it releases. Currently, I'm going through all the Souls games before the Elden Ring DLC comes out. So I'm got my hands busy for a little bit. Now we're moving on to PC. Finding news stories about PC is kind of difficult, but this one comes from PC Games, and PC sales are up by 1.5% when compared to quarter one of 2023. This is actually awesome news. There was a really big dip from quarter one 2022 to quarter one 2023 of almost like 25% or something like that. So getting that 1% back means that we are getting out of that pandemic hole where people were just kind of overspending, and now we are trending upwards. So hopefully what this means is that when the 50 series comes out for Nvidia, then they're going to be cheaper and they're not going to be greedy with their price points. And that was going to be awesome for us, hopefully, which, yeah, I don't know if that's actually true. Obviously there's no like merit to that claim, but seeing how they price the 40 series, I'm really hoping that Nvidia kind of sees their mistake, even though they did make their money off of it, and actually gets the product to the people who want it and not some crypto nerds. This story gets a B because 1.5, while it's still a good percent uptick, we're still trying to see where this leads, right? All right, now we get into my esports section. This is something that I'm personally a little passionate about. I'm not going to cover every esport. Obviously, I'm just going to cover the ones I'm interested in, and maybe just add a big event for games I don't follow. I don't really follow Counter-Strike. I don't follow League. I don't follow Pokemon. But if there's a big thing happening there, then I'll add it in. So this weekend, we have the Overwatch Championship Series, and I lost half of you already because nobody plays Overwatch. Nobody wants to play Overwatch, allegedly. So this actually started already. It started today, 9 a.m. PST. Teams play for a chance to go to DreamHack Dallas. They have to accrue some points before we get to there. DreamHack Dallas is in late May. And the only way to view these group stages, because that's where we are currently in right now, is through player POVs or through co-streams. And it's only the player POV if the player is actually streaming. So it's not every streamer or every player is forced to stream. It's just that if the player wants to stream their games, then that's where you'll watch it. There's no official broadcast this week or through the group stages in general. So it's just what we got to deal with post Overwatch League in North America, I guess, because Korea and the Pacific actually have some sort of production value to it. You can find the list of all the streamers and co-streams in the description. Next, we got the Valorant Champions Tour, the VCT group stage happening this weekend as well. Games are on now, probably. You could probably just go to and search Valorant on Twitch, and maybe there's a game happening right now because they are holding it obviously by region. Because of this, they have a lot of different games starting on Thursday to Sunday. If you're on PST like me, it starts bright and early on Thursday with EMEA, and then they bounce around every region like China, then Pacific, then EMEA again, and then NA, and it all ends with NA on Sunday. So you have some Valorant games to look forward to starting on Thursday morning all the way to Sunday evening. Unfortunately, there are no FGC tournaments or fighting game community tournaments this weekend, but South Korea does have their own smaller Tekken league that's happening. It is a smaller Tekken league through AfreecaTV, and it lasts 2 months. They do have some of the best players like John Ding and Ulsan playing in these things, so you can go catch the stream if you'd like. Unfortunately, this does happen pretty late or early, however you want to look at it, in North America. So if you wanted to catch it, chances are you would have to catch the VOD. And I would like to shout out Rip. I mean, I don't know this guy personally, but he's doing it solo. He is co-streaming it through AfreecaTV. Again, link to that VOD for this past week is down in the description. I give this week of games a D. There's not really much going on. It's just group stages, seeing who qualifies for the big stuff. Next week, hopefully we have something a little bit more to look forward to. Now we move on to some general stuff. This one comes from Video Game Chronicles. The number of arcades in Japan have declined by 8,000 in 10 years. This, unfortunately, is expected, like heavily expected. I do have to give the story, obviously, an F. It is unfortunate to see that something that I was very attuned to when I was growing up is a dying breed, essentially. I would not go to very many arcades. I wasn't, in the arcades all the time, but I did enjoy myself. What used to be called Family Fun Center back in the day, having to go there every week on what we would call $10 Tuesday and having a good old time with some friends, playing at the arcade, playing some fighting games, playing whatever there is, DDR, Area 51, things like that. But I mean, it just makes sense. The convenience of online has really taken a toll on a lot of different things. It's unfortunate though. Okay, now we're on to some more lighthearted news. We have the Triple I Initiative. This is an indie showcase where they say that there's no fluff, no ads. It is just games, trailers, things like that for you to enjoy. These are all games that are obviously developed by indie developers. And the list that I'm going to be naming here are things that interest me. Your list could severely differ. So I would heavily suggest going to the YouTube channel, checking out their showcase and finding what speaks to you. This is that variety that the Stellar Blade director was asking for. You will find it here, I promise you. So my list of games that I liked from that, or at least looked interesting, obviously Slay the Spire 2, Gestalt or Gestalt, I don't know how to pronounce words, Hyper Light Breaker, RKGK, and Streets of Rogue 2. Oh, and Mouse. I forgot about Mouse. This gets a A+. I heavily endorse playing indie games. They are, to me, the lifeblood of the gaming industry. Obviously, we have the AAA stuff like Call of Duty and things like that to take money away from a lot of stuff, but that's neither here nor there. I do have a COD story a little bit later. But yeah, for those who think that games are dying and that there's nothing new to play or gaming is dead or whatever, I don't believe that. You just don't know where to look, man. Where AAA is getting more stagnant and more bland, and they're taking, I don't want to say bland, they're just taking longer to get product out. These games should be able to hold you over for the next big title from them. If you are like, man, gaming is dead, there's a very high likelihood that you will relate or have a better time with any of these indie games that I just mentioned, or any games that are listed in the Triple I Initiative, more than you would any of those AAA experiences. I mean, just look at Suicide Squad. That game is basically dead already. Look at Skull and Bones. That the quadruple A even is already dying, right? But these indie games, they stick with you. They tell a relatable story, or the gameplay loop is just so addictive that you're just like, holy crap, I can't even put it down. Like Balatro. These games are what keeps creativity going. It's something that I believe that you will talk about and think about long after you've completed it. It's not just, oh, it's a 2-hour game, I'm not going to think about it. Some of those 2-hour experiences are pretty heavy. I mean, think about a movie, right? A movie can stick with you for a very long time, and those usually have a 2-hour runtime. Gaming is no different. If it tells a good story, if it has a good gameplay loop, it's going to stick with you. So I say give these things a chance. This is a good place to start if you have no idea of how to approach indies. Just a couple more stories for you. The Netease and Blizzard drama and breakup has been amended, and you can now play Blizzard games in China thanks to Phil, I assume. I mean, honestly, we can't deny the impact that China has on gaming and some of the strongholds that they have in some of the markets that we are all kind of putting money into in gaming. So this is overall just good news. This was actually a very big thing that happened last year. Obviously, I assume that none of us or none of you watch the Overwatch League, but there was a very big thing about that because the breakup happened early January. Overwatch League had concluded at that time, and they were looking to ramp up their marketing. Unfortunately, that wasn't able to happen, and roster mania happened. One team from China completely exited, while the other teams played remotely somehow. Rip the Chengdu Hunters, let's just say that. This reunion between NetEase and Blizzard honestly gets an A from me. I think it's a good thing overall. I don't know the ins and outs of NetEase and Blizzard, but if we get the games to more people, that's generally good, right? Right? All right. Have you ever wanted to spend week by week looking at a DLC store, buying a $20 pack every week for the promise of a super cool King Kong arm? Well, if you... This story is ridiculous. I'm sorry. You have to have spent $80 in Call of Duty. This is a Call of Duty story, by the way. $80 to get a King Kong arm that is actually just a reskin of a weapon. So it's not a unique power. It's not anything crazy. It's just a reskin of an existing weapon, and it costs $80 for you to get. I don't play COD, but there's honestly nothing that screams uniqueness about this except for obviously the skin itself. It's a King Kong arm. There are no custom death animations, no camos that can be added to it. It's an F for me. It's an F in chat. Press F to pay respects, but they got some people. They got, and not just some, they got a lot of people to spend $80 to get this King Kong arm. That's unfortunate. Did you know that we had a new remaster or re-release of a beloved game this week? Did you know? Did you know that the gigantic MOBA just got re-released this week? Did you know that? Yeah, neither did I. Well, it did, and it's $20. This was a game that was supposed to compete with the likes of Overwatch, Paladin, Smite, Battleborn, which obviously that one's dead already, Paragon, things like that. This game is a third-person MOBA, hero, shooter, whatever you want to call it. This game plays very much like Smite and Paragon, and if that's a way to kind of be like, oh, okay, so it's already dead on arrival, that's probably a pretty good guess. They are currently priding themselves on this just being a $20 complete package, which means no microtransactions, free updates, I assume, to the game moving forward. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's basically it. I don't know if there's room for a game like this anymore, especially if you're going to release it at $20. While I can respect the idea of releasing a game at $20 and giving you free updates and things like that, I don't know what you're going to do to sustain that after. The game didn't do well back in the day when it originally launched in 2017, thanks to games like the things that they're competing with, like Overwatch and Paragon and Paladins and Smite. And as much as people like to think that Overwatch is a dead game, it's not. Since 2017, we've gotten a lot of these hero-based shooters or third-person whatevers. Any hero-based things, right? We've gotten a lot of them, and none of them have stayed. It needs to be a unique idea. It needed to be something that hasn't been done before, or it is so clean, the gameplay is that good and the feedback is that good that you want to come back to it, like Apex Legends. The main game that they're trying to compete with, I assume, is Smite, and that still has a pretty big player base, and I feel like they already have a monopoly over that player base. If you didn't know, Paragon, the Overprime, is shutting down their servers on the 22nd of this month, so they tried again, and this is the third time they've tried this already. They tried 3 games in the Paragon universe, and all of them have now essentially failed. All of these games are free to play too. So, I mean, Smite, again, still alive and kicking. Paragon, all 3 of those options were just kind of dead on arrival as well, unfortunately. And Smite can barely get over 17,000 players concurrently to this day, on Steam at least. Seeing the Steam charts and seeing that gigantic on release week have only peaked at 6,000 players, I think the death of this game is all but sealed. And while I understand the idea of behind that $20 quote unquote complete experience, their original competition obviously has not left the scene yet. I guess we got to keep track of the gigantic numbers in the next coming weeks. To me, this gets a grade C. I don't know why they would choose to re-release this game of all games or put effort into a game like this. But hopefully they can prove me wrong and the numbers jump up and it's going to be the next Helldivers 2. Last story of the day is the Fallout show is good. It's actually good. Holy cow. I'm just going to spew off some of the reviews that I saw online. Xbox Era gave it an 8.5 out of 10, with their one con being harsh cuts to commercial. Xbox Era writes, whether you're new to the series or any level of fan, you should give it a chance. The stellar cast is backed up by hilarious and occasionally heartbreaking writing. IGN gives the show a 9 out of 10, saying, a bright and funny apocalypse filled with dark punchlines and bursts of ultra-violence. Fallout is among the best video game adaptations ever made. And lastly, we have one from Eurogamer, 4 out of 5. What a lovely, if blood spattered, surprise. This to me, I'm going to give this an A. It's good to see another gaming franchise succeed in this way, making the jump to live action. It almost makes me hopeful for the Borderlands movie. Oh, yeah, no. That movie looks like a mess. I'm sorry. So that concludes this week's Grade the Gaming news. If you're new and you like the content, please, again, feel free to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know if you are going to be emulating some games yourself. If you're going to be playing that Tales of Kenzera Zao game on day one on PlayStation Plus. If you feel like there needs to be more variety in gaming as well, just like the Stellar Blade director. And what esports are you watching? I'm very interested to hear that, just so that I can, I'm down to watch whatever. Most of whatever, I should say. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.